Welcome back to the South Texas Skillet. I'm Holly, and I'm going to show you how to make one of my family's favorite meals, Salisbury steak. This Salisbury steak we're going to make with an onion gravy, not a mushroom gravy. It's super simple and it's delicious. All right, let's get started. So we're going to start with the yellow onion. We're not dicing it up today, we're just going to slice it. All right, so for this, all you do is cut your onion in half and then take those halves and just slice them just like that. And you can actually probably make it a lot thinner than I did. That's fine. Okay, we're gonna set our onions to the side and we'll get our meat mixture ready. All right, so we have 2 pounds of ground chuck. We are gonna use all of this today. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands. Okay, to the ground meat, you're gonna add your salt and pepper. It's about 2 teaspoons of salt and about a teaspoon of pepper. Put in some Italian breadcrumbs, or you can do regular breadcrumbs. Either is fine. I usually just buy the Italian breadcrumbs. Either is gonna work. The Italian breadcrumbs will give it a little bit extra flavor. All right, to that you're gonna add 1 egg. I'm gonna throw in some cayenne, not a whole lot. It's probably half a teaspoon. Some parsley. That was about half a tablespoon. Onion powder. Garlic powder. Say about half a tablespoon of each of those. And some Worcestershire sauce. Just a few splashes, that'll work. All right. Then you're just gonna mix this up. Don't be afraid to use your hands. I like using my hands more than using a spoon or anything else to mix this with. If it feels dry, I'm gonna add in another egg. The egg and the breadcrumbs act as a binder to kind of hold everything together. All right, I will need 1 more egg. Let me get that real quick. All right, we're gonna add our egg in. And I can already tell that this is going to taste good just by smelling it. I can smell the seasonings. But if you are not quite confident in telling if your seasonings are good enough, just take a little piece of the meat mixture and ball it up and then fry it real quick and taste that. You never want to, of course, taste the raw meat, but that's a good way to check to make sure you have enough salt or pepper or any other spices. And you can adjust your seasonings if you need to. All right, once this is mixed up, we're going to go ahead and create our patties, and we'll put them on a plate. So this is probably a little bit bigger than a golf ball size. I'm gonna flatten it out. And then set it here. If you want to make them bigger, you can make them bigger. If you need to make them smaller, maybe you have little kids and you don't want them quite as big, you can change that as well. So I never really worry too much about uniformity or anything like that when I'm cooking. I like to say everything is rustic. To me, it does not matter how pretty my patties look when I'm making Salisbury steak. Just like it doesn't matter to me how I dice my vegetables. If they look uniform, it's all going to be just fine. All right. So you're going to want to let these rest for at least 5 minutes, especially after we worked it and made the patties. The longer it rests, the better chance you're going to have of them holding their shape and sticking together and not falling apart. So I'm going to go get this cleaned up, and then I'll show you what we'll do next. So we just had mashed potatoes the other day, and we all decided we would rather have rice with this. So what I did here is put in probably 2 to 3 cups of jasmine rice. Guys, I never measure my rice or my water, and I'm going to show you the trick to do that in just a second. So I am going to use a rice cooker for this. This is the Cuckoo brand. It has been my favorite rice cooker, and I've had about 4 or 5 of them. And this one seems to stand up to how much we use it, which is all the time. All right, so our rice is dry right now. All I do is take some water, cover the rice, and then you just mix it around. Again, I use my hands, and that's going to be just fine. When you mix it, you're going to notice that all of the starch comes off of your rice, and then you'll pour the water out and add more to it. So I barely mixed it this time, and I can already tell that my water is filled with that starch. You want to rinse it until the water runs clean. So you can see how much starch we're getting off of the rice. And just keep rinsing. Once you have rinsed your rice well, you're going to add your water into it. And they normally say it's 2 cups of water per 1 cup of rice. And that's fine. You can measure everything out if you want to, but I have a different method. So I'm going to cover my rice with water, and then I use my finger to measure. So you put the tip of your finger on top of the rice, and then you go up to your first knuckle. And that should be the perfect amount of water. I'm just going to cover it. And then once I feel like I have enough water, I'm just going to put my finger in, and it looked like it was enough water. And once I stuck my finger into the top of the rice, the water came up to my first knuckle, and we're going to be perfect. Let's go ahead and put our rice in the rice cooker. Just going to open it, and we'll set this inside, close it, and then there's a button that says start. Just push that. And you're going to look to see what kind of rice you want. And we want the sticky white rice. That's usually what we have anytime we have white rice. So there's a setting for sticky rice. Normally you have that when you make any Asian meals, when you have the side of rice, it's always your sticky rice. And then I am doing white rice. There's different settings on here, including brown rice. You just have to flip through the menu to select it. So one thing I do like about this is you can reheat your rice in here if you wanted to. A lot of times when you reheat your rice in the microwave, it dries it out. And so this is really good at reheating that leftover rice for you. Another thing I like about that rice cooker that I forgot to mention is you don't have to set the time on it. It does it all on its own. So you really just push the button and start, and it does everything for you. All right, so I do have some canola oil in the bottom of my pan. You can use butter or lard or any other oil that you want to. Just know that you're going to make a gravy later in this same oil. So it's going to need to be something that you want that will taste good in a gravy. And olive oil isn't typically something that I use when I'm doing gravies. Okay, so I'm just heating this up, and then we're going to add in some of our patties. When we're done, when they have browned on both sides, we're going to transfer them to a plate. Now they don't have to be cooked all the way through, because we're going to cook them, we'll simmer them in the gravy. So we're just looking at getting a nice crust on both sides. All right, so don't overcrowd your pan. I think we're gonna be able to get about 5, maybe 6. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna let this cook really well on one side before we flip it to the other side. All right, once everything has browned, you're going to pull out your meat patties. And ours did shrink quite a bit. The chuck that we get, the ground chuck, is an 80-20. The reason I like that so much is because it has so much more flavor than the lean meat. But you get whatever you want. All right, so we're gonna put this on a plate. Do not put it on a paper towel. We want whatever juices that's gonna come out of the meat to collect in the bottom of our plate, and we'll pour that in with our gravy. All right, I'm gonna add in the rest of my patties. Probably have to do 2 more batches. Yep, I'm not gonna try to fit all in there, so I'm gonna do 2 more batches, and then we'll be back. Once the last bit of the meat patties are done, pull them out. And then this is too much oil for me. We want to have a little over 1/4 cup. This is probably more like half a cup or 3/4 of a cup. So what I'm gonna do is pour some of it out into a bowl. And I'm gonna save it in case we need more grease after we cook our onions. If we need more grease after we cook our onions, I want the grease that we cook the meat in to be what we use because it has all that flavor in it. So we're just gonna pour this into a bowl. Not all of it, just about half. I'm gonna wipe up this excess on the side so it doesn't drip down into my stove. All right, now we're gonna turn this back on and we'll cook our onions at a slow heat until they have caramelized a little bit. They don't need to fully caramelize. So I'm just trying to separate these onions so they can each get coated in that oil. And then we'll leave this in here while we make our gravy. So you don't have to remove your onions when you make the gravy, just leave them in the pot or in the pan. All right, once your onions are somewhat caramelized, they don't have to be completely caramelized for this. You're gonna finish off your gravy. I feel like we need a little bit more grease. You want at least 1/4 cup of grease in there. We're almost there. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I'm just using the oil that we had in the pan that we poured out earlier. All right, to that I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of flour. And then we're gonna mix this around. I do have my heat. It's at a low, but my stove gets pretty hot. So depending on your stove, you might want this to be at a medium. You don't want it to be hot though. You don't want to burn this flour before it has a chance to cook in that grease. And you want to make sure that you have enough flour for your grease. So it's going to clump up really good at first, and that's what you want. But then once it starts to cook, it's going to liquefy. So let's cook it for at least a minute. And you notice we did not take the onions out, so the onions stay in for this part. We just added the flour to them. So you're gonna constantly move the onions and the flour around and cook it for about a minute. And it's okay if you cook it a little bit longer. now we're going to add in our beef broth. Let's add a little bit at a time. If you add it too fast, it's going to clump up on you, and you don't want that to happen. When you add in your beef broth, it's going to kind of form a paste. So let it form the paste and then add more and keep going until you get the consistency of a gravy. And then because you want your meat to cook in this for a little while to make sure it's cooked all the way through, you want the gravy to be thinner than the final product. It's going to thicken as it cooks. Okay, so we need a little bit more. And I know some people say to not use metal on cast iron. I've never had a problem with using this metal spatula on my cast iron. You do want to make sure when you're making gravy to try to use something that has holes in it, or something that you can smash down those the clumps really well when they start to form. It's going to be good. When I do my gravy and I use my spatula, I make sure my spatula goes down flat and I'm just smushing around everything. So I used about 4 cups of broth total. I want to make sure we have enough gravy to cover our Salisbury steak and our rice. And you can see right now this gravy is very liquidy. It's just falling off of my spatula, and that's fine. The longer it cooks, the more it's going to thicken up. And I need to get these meat patties back in so that way they can cook all the way through. Because remember, we just browned the outsides. We did not cook them, so they were done. All right, so what we're gonna do now is take these patties and put them into our broth. Before we do that, let's taste our gravy and make sure it's seasoned enough. If it's not seasoned enough, we need to go ahead and add some more salt or pepper. All right, so it does need a little bit more salt. You do want to do this before you add all of your meat in, so I'm glad I remembered. We're going to add some more pepper too. And just do this to taste. Let's give this a quick mix. All right. I'm gonna taste it one more time. Okay, that is much better. Let's add in the rest of our meat. All right, and any juices from the pan that has accumulated, go ahead and add that in. Thank you. All right, we're gonna let this come up to a good simmer, and then we're gonna cover it and let it cook for another 10 to 15 minutes. And this gravy will thicken as it cooks, so don't worry about that. All right, once it starts to come up to a boil, we're gonna turn it down to a simmer. We'll cover it, and then we'll let it cook for 10 to 15 minutes until that meat is cooked through and that gravy is thickened. All right, so our Salisbury steak is done. I do have a side of broccoli, and our rice is done. Now you can flip this rice with a fork if you want to. I never do. I'm gonna go in and get a scoop or two out. These little spatulas come with the rice cooker. They're very handy. And in fact, we'd use them for more than just the rice. A lot of times when we're cooking eggs in one of our skillets, we tend to grab that. It's very good. All right, so I'm gonna get some of the patties. I'm gonna do 2. They did shrink down quite a bit. And I'll add in some gravy on our rice. All right, so let's go ahead and give the rice a try first. We do like gravy on our rice. It's one of my favorite ways to eat it. And that is so good. That gravy just soaks in. It's very nice. All right. And our Salisbury steak, you can see, is cooked all the way through. There's so much flavor in that meat. Your family is really going to enjoy this. All right, if you want to see a nice dessert recipe, you can click the link here. Go ahead and give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.